everybody, and welcome to the HERstory Collaborative. My name is Jen Buck, and I am your host here in the Collab. I'm a professional speaker, executive strategist, author of 5 books, and a nonprofit founder. My speaking and training business is focused on advocating, activating, and amplifying high-performing women. And that's what the HERstory Collaborative is all about, trailblazing women who are changing their little corner of the world. Now, today I am so excited to have our guest in studio because she's a woman that I've worked with, I admire, I call her a friend, and I just love her to pieces. So today our guest is Cecilia Garcia Lorenzo. She was born and raised in Uruguay between the sea and the countryside. She moved to the United States in 1997 at the age of 20 to continue her education. Having succeeded at running a successful business for over 20 years, in 2018, she founded 100 Angels Foundation. This 501c3 organization promotes physical, mental, and spiritual help, starting with the most vulnerable. Her goal is to create space for interactions and community service that will lead to improved quality of life. She believes that volunteer work benefits both the recipients and the volunteers equally. Cecilia believes that necessity is an opportunity to create change, both inside and out. So my friend, my dear collaborator, welcome to the collab.
Jen, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
I love it so much. So we have to tell people tuning in that we definitely have history, right? So we met in 2018 and we were involved in something that we didn't know in the moment was going to totally change our lives. And I can't believe that here we are in 2021, still doing the work and also collaborating on a deeper level as I work within your organization too. So do you want to tell those tuning in about our first meeting in 2018?
Ooh, we were running around like chicken without heads in this big backyard at a church.
Yes.
Is that the same memory you have?
Yes, it is. Of course it is. Yes.
We just cross paths here and there. I was carrying boxes. You were carrying others. It was amazing. It was great. It was the beginning of something wonderful.
Yeah. So we both answered the call. There was a need down in our city for people to come and volunteer and help. And it was a crisis situation. We had asylum seekers who were coming into Phoenix and we had very little support. We didn't know how to take care of these people. These were people who'd been legally dropped off from ICE, but there was no structure, no system in place. And so there was just this huge frantic call. And both of us ended up at the same church in the same room, trying to do 2 different things in a space that probably was only big enough for one. And I remember you and I like literally just crossing and passing and shimmying around each other, right? Trying to do these 2 separate functions. And little did we know that it would turn into this work that has dominated both of our lives and changed both of our lives, helping these asylum seekers as they are being released by ICE into the country. So tell us a little bit about 100 Angels, because that was where it grew from. It was that moment when both of our lives changed, right? But it was really also the seed that was planted that created this incredible organization that you have now. So tell us about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's been an amazing journey. When I first thought about 100 Angels, I never, ever imagined that this was going to be the result. Wow. I was invited as a medical interpreter to a humanitarian mission in El Salvador in a rural area it was spring break. So it's been 3 years now, spring break 2018. And I couldn't resist the interaction between the volunteers and the people receiving the help. It was amazing. So I adventured into creating a small organization, which I thought was going to do a micro mission coming Christmas 2018. So I got together with a group of friends. I signed in to do an online class to get me prepared and ready for this. And I embarked in my micro mission in Christmas 2018 to El Salvador. And what happened there is we, with my group of volunteers and friends, we visited these rural communities to where we walk 7, 8, 9 miles a day. And we went home to home visiting all these people. And the way they all received us, it was just an amazing experience. It was different than what I lived in spring break, where we will set camp at a church or a school and everyone will come. This time we visit them and they opened their doors for us. So we came back, started my laundry, 25 hours into it, we get a call.
Yes.
That hundreds of people are being released, as you say, legally released in our streets, in our hometown in Phoenix. So it just happened that those people that were receiving us at our homes, we were now receiving them at our doorsteps.
Yes. Oh, I have goosebumps. Absolutely.
So it happened. And as you say, you were running around trying to figure out the clothing aspect, and making sure that everyone had something fresh and clean to wear. And we did the medical part. The first day we went to the church, we just saw a couple of jars. I remember it, being pink. So I take it that it was children's Tylenol and Pepto-Bismol. I want to think those were kind of like things that I saw in a corner in a table, but nobody was providing medical assistance,
right?
Or triage,
right.
or actual, over-the-counter medication. So that's when a group of volunteers that had come the second or third day were trying to help but didn't know what to do.
Yes.
So I stepped in and I said, well, when we go to El Salvador, this is how we manage.
Yes.
And that's how it started. That's literally how it started. It's been 2.5 years and we've assisted 18,000 people one at a time.
Believable.
Just like
and your missions have increased. You're not just working within Phoenix, your borders have increased. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so yes, if you remember last year, at the beginning of the year last year, before all the pandemic and the COVID aspect happened, there were some issues and concerns about children dying in detention centers because of the influenza, because they weren't able to access a simple shot as it is the flu shot.
Yes.
So what we did is we partnered with other local organizations, and we traveled to Mexico. And we went to the shelters where the people were waiting to go into the process. And we were able to vaccinate them in Mexico before they went in the process. So that was just an amazing experience too, to be able to do that.
It's so incredible. And, I know that we see in our country that, immigration is a lightning rod issue, right? And people are very, very set in their ways about what immigration should look like. And I'm somebody who absolutely believes immigration needs to be fixed. I don't on any level have a belief that we should have open borders, and that, I just don't think that we could handle it, obviously, right? So I believe that there should be, changes that happen. But here's the thing. When people are in need, and when children are dying, and when you're meeting people who have hatchet marks on their bodies, and children who have slices across their neck, who are fleeing from violence, you don't get political. You jump in and you help, because that's what we as human beings are here to do. And it's not my job to fix immigration. It is not my job to save everybody, but where there's a need, if I can help, I need to be able to jump in. And I remember when we first started doing this, and I created my organization and we partnered together with your organization. And I used to get a lot of people who were very, very, opinionated about what I was doing. And I think people are surprised to hear that the aid workers, the NGOs that are jumping in, we're working in concert with ICE. When I get these families, 100 people who are being let out of detention, who are now documented and a part of the system, I'm literally partnering with them, and I'm signing off on them and taking them into my custody to make sure that they get to their families. And I think people are very misled about who's being helped or how they're being helped or what's the process of it. And that's not something that I ever really cared about, but it is a part of what we do, that we're helping people, we're assisting the government in trying to make this a humane and organized, process. And I think it's incredible that you've been able to be at dozens of locations. And I don't even remember how many it was at one time. I want to say you were in the 20s, and it was 3 or 4 locations a day running and having these pop-up, doctor's offices, if you will. You've partnered with dozens of doctors and nurses who come out and actually work at these different locations. It's been incredible. And I would imagine it's been very fulfilling for you.
It has. It has been exhausting too.
Sure.
Now, when it comes to the migration topic, if you don't mind, because I know part of this work that we're doing, it takes a lot of education, educating the volunteers, the donors, the people in the street that you're sharing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I also want to share with you, I'm a migrant myself. I migrated to this country when I was 20 years. You already shared that. It's been 24. I took my kids to the butterfly world once. Have you seen the one that's by the aquarium here
Yes.
in the 101?
Sure.
Do you know that butterflies migrate? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine us putting borders? Well, you do know, everybody knows that butterflies migrate, birds migrate. Mm-hmm. Our children, when they turn college age, they migrate. Mm. Our parents, when it's cold in their homes, they migrate. Mm-hmm. So why are we so selective about who are the ones allowed to migrate?
Wow.
I remember when I first migrated from my country at 20, my mom, I don't know if it was on a try to relieve or heal or I was 20. She wrote a letter that was published in the newspaper, sharing her feelings about how some people have the privilege to migrate or to travel, again, for educational purposes, for, business.
Yes.
Climate. And then some others, we have to migrate because we don't have our basic needs.
That's right.
At our homes.
That's right.
When our lives are in danger, when, who will adventure to do something like what these people are doing if it wasn't because they really need to do it?
Right.
And again, how many of us just migrate because it's cold in our summer
Just
home?
because it's cold, exactly. Right.
Or because it's too hot in our winter home. Yeah. So that was just my input on the migration issue.
Well, and I think that's beautiful. And I am, obviously a huge proponent of migration and what's happening. And I work every day to be a really important and trusted part of the process. And I don't think people see it that way, and I'm not sure why either. I have my opinions about it, but it's not important, right? Because none of it is anything more than an opinion. But I love that concept, of migration and the awareness of how often we and other species do exactly that. And I just...
Whales, yes, sharks, we all migrate. We need to do it. We can't stay stuck in one same place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you think you'd be doing this kind of work when you were a little girl? Was it a part of your character to help other people in a big way? Was there ever something, as you look back at your life as a child, that you think, there was the sign? Do you have anything like that?
I'm not sure. There may. My mom worked for the Child Protective Services, again, in Uruguay. And I know that we spend a lot of holidays, a lot of Christmas in orphanages, spending, the holidays with these kids and sharing, the same meals. And I wonder if that may have something to do. But again, I was always interested in doing different things, like different sports, school activities, church activities, and things like that. I had different groups of friends. So I guess I've always been interested in learn and be in different situations. Does that make sense? And
yes.
I think that's one of the most important things, so we can bring empathy in the picture.
Yes.
Right? Because
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, if you can't put yourself in the shoes of the other person, how are you going to generate that empathy, right?
Yes. And I think that's what oftentimes is overshadowed by fear and opinion, is that we lose the empathy, right? And if we can't move with empathy through the world, we're going to lose everything. Caring about somebody's situation, caring about what's happened to them, even though it may not have happened to you, or it may not seem like something you would be involved in, having that empathy allows us to be one. We are one, and I think we forget that because we become so struck by our titles or our roles or our isms, if you will, right? People are very caught up in their isms. And I think that instead of leading with empathy, we lead with something else that gets in the way. Often it's fear, it's ego, it's anger, it's a backstory. And I think that if we can let down that guard and shed those isms, I think we start to realize that we're all one, we're all the same. And that's very much the work that you're doing, is caring for those who in the moment cannot care for themselves, for whatever that circumstance is. And I admire what you've done because you had 20 years running a business. You're an entrepreneur. You have had the luxury and privilege of being settled and in control and having your life look a certain way. And while you still run that, you also decided to go into this space that is unpredictable and exhausting and frankly, dirty, difficult, emotional, right? I mean, it's so taxing. And I admire so much that you would leave the privilege of not having to deal with it, right? Not having to and choosing to anyway. And I just think there's such beauty in that choice. I just admire that so much.
Thank you, my dear friend. One thing that struck me when I first went to El Salvador in this first humanitarian mission as an interpreter was, I don't want to say, maybe I should say, how much waste of resources we have in this country.
Yes.
Or maybe not that way, but how much of a difference would that make somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 children. And many times, as you say, I run a business. I take them with me to purchase my supplies for my business. And you can imagine a 5-year-old, a 9-year-old at Target running around getting cleaning supplies.
Yes.
Mom, can I have this? Mom, can I have that? No. You can say to the point to where you're like, okay, just get it and let me finish doing my shopping.
Yes.
That adds up.
Mm-hmm.
That is all of these resources when you look at them and maybe you could put them to use in a different aspect, it will make such a huge difference.
Yes.
Does it make sense? Like,
yes.
When I understood that it only took $25 for somebody to receive in a rural area of El Salvador, maybe the only medical consultation a year, the only eye doctor visit, and the only time you're going to be seeing a dentist, again, for the whole year.
Yes.
And then we come here and we spend it, we waste it, we just throw it in the trash.
Yes.
Like, I'm not saying buying presents or toys for my children or, it's throwing my money in the trash. But I mean, do they need it? Do they need them? They don't really need them. So I think, the fortune that we have in this country to have so many resources and to have them available to us, we should know better. Yeah. We should be mindful and we should direct those resources to where it's really needed and to where we can make a difference.
Yeah. And I've always been amazed since I've started doing this work, even before when I think about being a volunteer for other organizations, the amount that people are willing to give is so extraordinary. And I'm not talking about the level of giving, because I do love that too. The willingness to give is incredible and makes my heart sing, but the amount that they're willing to give. People are willing to give away huge amounts to help when there's a need that they believe in. And you look at the amounts that are coming and you just think, my gosh, where has this all been? Whether it's clothing or food or, baby items, blankets. I mean, it's always amazing to me that people will come with two, carloads of stuff. And I just think, holy cow, we have so much stuff. And that was a big awareness for me when we started doing this, how much stuff I have, that can be used, how much stuff is really not used in my own closet, that can be used by someone else. And yeah, there's an awareness of the mass quantity of stuff that we have. And if we just started to become maybe a little more conservancy, that's not the right word. If we started to maybe conserve where we spend and think about shifting those resources to something else, we could do so much, and now you and I being in this NGO space, you realize how necessary it is, because you're not getting big funding, if you will. You don't have a huge money pit behind you. This is sweat equity. This is you going into the community to educate and often spending your own money. And I don't think people realize that, when they see an organization, they don't realize that it's you doing all the work behind the scenes to make this organization happen, to make every day happen for these medical, professionals with the supplies they need to actually impact these families who are in need, right? I mean, I just think that it's so much bigger, and people don't realize that the smallest amount sometimes can be the difference between, people being taken care of in a severe state when they're terribly wounded and not being seen at all. I remember last year, right before COVID, we had the little girl who had her hand that got caught on the train, remember? And she lost 4 fingers. And had we not been able to engage all of you fast and get her the help she needed, she would have lost her hand at the wrist. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah. And she was about 5, 6, 7. She was a little girl, just a little girl. And it's just such important work that you're doing. What do you love about it?
Oh, the volunteers. See, in that special location, they were from Guatemala. Mm-hmm. We had in town one of our collaborators at the time. He was a doctor from El Salvador.
Yes.
So he was culturally aware.
Yes.
He made that connection to be able to explain to the mom what was happening. Mm-hmm. We had at the time a psychiatrist who came to the hotel also, and with the help of interpreters was able to assist the mom.
I remember.
It was a very special occasion. Mm-hmm. It's the interaction, the energy that's generated between the volunteer and that one that's in desperate help. And and when you are in desperate help, it's such a tough position to be too, because not everyone is willing to ask for help. A lot of people will say, I got it, I don't need this. About 1/3 of all the people that we receive and we offer the triage and the assistance, they'll be like, no, thank you. I'm strong. I got this.
That's right.
But then those that actually request the help and when they receive it, and the unconditional way these volunteers give the assistance, the way they worry and they care, like before COVID, they were able to touch each other, hug, most of the time they had food, affections and concerns, and the doctors were like, okay, show me your feet, and they're like, no, I haven't showered in a week. It's okay.
Yes.
Just show me the feet.
Yes, I remember.
They love it. Our volunteers love doing the work. Every time I have a new volunteer, it's just that magic happens, Yes. So what I love the most is the interaction between, human beings.
Yeah. And I know that about you. And I know that from all of the days and the long hours and the hard work and the emotion that, we carried, I know you loved every moment. That's what's amazing, and I think that's why 100 Angels has been able to sustain itself and grow the way that it has, and start to, increase the borders of where they can help. And I just think it's all because you love it. And I'm curious, what would you tell someone who has been thinking about getting involved in something, aid work or volunteerism? What would you tell them? Because I think for me, what I hear from a lot of people is, oh, I know, I just haven't done it and I feel so bad and I don't really know where to go and how to do it. What would you tell someone who wanted to get involved in being a part of the solution? What would you tell them?
Good question. I will tell them, go for it. Mm-hmm. But I will also say, be mindful about your whereabouts, or about, when you go out to work and you get into that, state of doing this, try to leave everything, mm-hmm. at home. And then when you're finished doing the work, try to the best of your ability to leave it there. Don't take it home with you.
Yes, I agree. I think being fully present in the moment of giving and volunteering and providing aid is so important, because it's a magical experience when you are just selflessly helping another, but it's heavy. And when I look back over the last 3 years, it's heavy, heavy work because of the stories, because of the fear, because of the societal pressure about what you're engaged with and the opinions around that. It's heavy, heavy work. And I love that answer. I think you're absolutely spot on. So as much as I wish we could keep talking about this, but luckily we're friends and we'll just continue this conversation, I want to transition us into the speed round. And the speed round is where I ask you some quick questions and you just give me the answers, and it just gives all of us a better insight into who you are. So are you ready for some questions here?
I am ready.
Okay. So if you had a chance to sit on a park bench with your favorite woman from history, who would that be?
Michelle Obama.
I'm so with you. I love Michelle Obama so much. I can't even stand it. Are you a sweet person or a savory person when it comes to food?
Sweet, sweet, sweet.
I should have known that. And now that I look back onto all of our munching when we're, doing the work, I should have known that. Now,
chocolate, please.
Yep, exactly. I remember. So if you won a huge amount on the lottery, what would your first spend be?
Okay, so a house in the countryside.
Yes.
Definitely a house in the countryside, close to the sea.
Yes.
With horses and eucalyptus trees.
Sounds like home, right?
It sounds like home. It is home, definitely.
Yep, I love that. What's your favorite book?
Okay, so it would have to be The Alchemist.
Yes. That's such a life-changing book. The Alchemist it's a life changer. I love that book.
And again, it's close from home. Paulo Coelho, he's been Brazilian, we've been influenced by his work all our life. Yes.
That's right. Love it. So what's the best advice you've ever been given?
Okay, so when I started my house, I would have to say it's a business advice, but also life advice and all of that. When I started my house cleaning business a few years ago, 14 years ago, in the biggest crisis of all, a client of mine told me that I should let them know what you're doing. That was his advice. Let them know what you're doing.
Okay.
So since then, I've been trying to be clear on what I am doing, so people understand.
Yes, constantly publicizing and sharing what you're doing is hugely important. Yeah, I have found that for me in business, I've always been a talker and I've always been a connector. And yet in my personal life, I didn't talk about my business life. And so I'm the same way. I do a lot of talking now about what matters most and what I'm doing, because the people that want to support me are the ones who love me the most, and I think that's a great piece of advice. So on your pizza, are you a pineapple person or no pineapple?
No pineapple. No.
I don't even know what to do.
Sorry, but
we may need to break up, Cecilia. I don't know if we can go on. I don't know.
Now, I would suggest you try that pineapple with that spicy, what's it called? The Mexican.
Like Tapatio?
That one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh,
Mango, pineapple, orange, apple. Do that rather than heating it up. Ooh.
Oh, you got something there. Okay. So your theme song, what would your theme song be as you're walking on stage at your TED Talk, let's say? What would your theme song be?
Oh my God. Well, I'm not sure about that, but there's one song that throughout all these months have resonated with me, and it is Don't Give Up on Me by Andy Grammer. I don't know if
Yes.
you have heard him, and he's got a version where he sings with a bunch of school kids, and it gets me to tears every time I hear that song.
Oh my gosh.
So I highly recommend you guys listening to that
I
song
love
if you
Andy
can.
Grammer too. Oh, I love that. Okay, Cecilia, are you joining me in Living Past 100?
Oh, certainly. Yes.
Yes.
Please.
Good.
Yes.
My goal is
And I'm going to have
130.
and my hair colorful and all that stuff. Yes, please.
Absolutely. Good, good, good. What's the best word to describe you?
Oh, I would say persistent.
Yes, I totally see that. Absolutely.
I set my mind to something, I just go for it.
Yep. You look and sound very sweet and unassuming, but you are very persistent and you know what you want and you ask for it. I think that is just a great word for you. So last question, finish this sentence. When I'm really old, I hope to see.
Oh, my family grow. I just want to see, 20, 30, 50 kids coming, from.
I love that.
I only have 2 boys, but I mean, it's like, it's okay. We'll make it grow somehow.
You need to live with me then to 130 so that you can see generations to get to 40 or 50. Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what I would like to see.
I love
my children grow and their children grow and their children grow.
That is beautiful. I love that so much. Yeah. Cecilia, I love you so much. I just think you are the best human. And I'm so grateful that you spent a little time with us to just spread all of your, goodness and sweetness and kindness and ferociousness, to do the right thing for humanity. And I want to give you a chance to let those that are tuning in know where to find you, because I know that you need support. There are people that are actually wanting to support, but not knowing where to go. So can you give us all of your deets?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, my dear friend. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. So you can find us on Facebook, 100 Angels, and it's all spelled out. And then on our webpage, it's www.100angels.org. Yep. And there you can find us spelled out, or you can enter 100 with numbers and you'll find us. And yes, there's volunteer opportunities. We have right now an Amazon registry to purchase and create these hygiene and medication kits that we're sending to everyone receiving families. So thank you. Yes, 100 Angels. Yes. Oh, and our email is 100angels@icloud.com, but you find that through the webpage too.
Yes. And what I do on each one of the broadcasts is I make sure that I put all of your information in there so that people know exactly where to go, and it's printed for them along with where they're tuning in. So they'll be sure to see all of that and have an easy link to you. Before we go, I want to make sure that I give a big shout out and thank you to our sponsor, who is Go With The Flow. It's an incredible nonprofit organization that is helping students who are adversely affected economically with their period supplies. Because they often can't get the needed supplies at home, they will often miss, if you can imagine this, a week of school a month throughout their high school career. So what Go With The Flow does is it provides the schools and the students with the needed supplies so that they can live with dignity and mitigate that humiliation and the adverse effects that come from not being in school because they don't have the supplies they need for what is natural and should be occurring. And we're trying to make sure that we can keep these students in school so that their graduation rates are not impacted. Now, I want to say this too, because this is very exciting. In the months of May, June, and July, you're going to be our sponsor. And so I'll be sharing your information over and over again. And I'm so grateful for you for being willing to be connected to the broadcast. It just makes me so happy to be able to amplify people that I love. And I'm just so grateful that you spent time with me. So for all of you tuning in, thank you so much. Cecilia, I love you completely. And we will see you on the next podcast drop. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.